Hi guys, we are going to make a quick video here so that I can explain to you how to draw what is called a Bohr model for an atom. So we left off yesterday looking at electron structure with this graph that shows us the ionization energies, the successive ionization energies for argon. We kind of saw here that there were 8 electrons that were pretty easy to pull away. Then there were 8 more that were harder, and then there were 2 that were super hard. And this gave us the idea that they were like layers or rings of electrons. Niels Bohr, a famous physicist, took this idea and made a model for the atom that was a little like the solar system. We call it the Bohr model now, after him. He put the nucleus in the middle, kind of like the sun is in the middle of our solar system, and then planets would go around that nucleus. Electrons would go around that nucleus like planets go around the sun. And so it's a really simple model. It isn't actually correct, but it is very useful. In fact, we use it for explaining just about everything in regular general chemistry. There's very little that the Bohr model isn't useful in explaining. And so while it's technically incorrect, it's something that we use all the time, and we want to teach you how to do this. I have a particular way that I like to do this. Other chemistry teachers sometimes do it a little differently, and they're probably, wrong. They're not as good as my way, but they may end up being just as good. So if you take another teacher sometime, I don't want you to be like combative about this. I like to see it done a certain way, and I'm going to show you that way right now. So we're trying to draw a picture of what we think this atom is going to look like. When we start, we always begin by drawing a nucleus and putting the number of protons in it. So if I've got like aluminum, that's 13 protons I'm going to put in the middle of it. If I've got carbon, that's going to be 6, or nitrogen, which would be 5 protons. There's also obviously neutrons in the nucleus as well. If you know the number of neutrons, you can put that in there, but you don't have to feel like you have to. Oftentimes you don't know the number of neutrons when you're working on a problem, and so we just put the protons in there. Other thing is I like to color this in, just shade it lightly with my pencil to designate it as being a solid particle in the middle of the atom and not a ring. You're going to see there's lots of other rings, here we go, that go around it, and I don't want the rings to be confused with the nucleus, so I shade it in. So we saw with argon, we thought that there were 2 electrons that were super hard to remove because they were so close to the middle of the atom. So that first layer would have 2 electrons. That's the little black dots that we see on that ring. The next layer has got 8, and you see that we draw them paired. There's a total of 8 on there. And then the next layer had another 8. Now the order that you draw these on is important, right? I want you to learn to do this my way, because later on down the road when we draw molecules, having the electrons drawn in these diagrams just so is going to be useful. So try and follow along here. What we're going to do is we are going to always start at the bottom closest to the nucleus and fill our way out from there. And the way that we're going to draw the electrons is by putting them in, by going across from one side to the other, top, bottom. So I go from the right to the left, then the top, then the bottom. Right, left, top, bottom. Right, left, top, bottom. It's easy for me to remember this. I think of being in church. My pastor is always doing something that looks like the cross in front of us with his hand, and that's really all you're doing here. Truly, it doesn't even matter which side you start on. I like to start on the right side, but as long as you're going from one side across to the opposite and then doing the same thing the other direction, you're going to end up okay. And this is argon. This is 18 protons with 18 electrons. This is the largest atom that I would have you draw a Bohr model for, more than likely. Things get complicated beyond this, and so the Bohr model works really good up through argon. And so if you have got like nitrogen with 5 electrons, you have 5 protons in the middle, and you're just going to stop putting dots on when you get to the 5th electron. If you have got magnesium with 12 protons, you're going to keep putting electron dots on there until you get to the 12th one, and then you're done, and you just call it a day.